Hi everyone! So for today's lesson is I'll be tackling about my understanding toward um the topic of presenter number 1, which is the group of Miss Luna. So their topic is all about the theoretical foundation of classroom management in special education. So classroom management is a topic of enduring concern to teachers, administration, and the public management. Problems continue to be a major cause of burnout and job dissatisfaction of a teacher. So what is diversity? So diversity is simply mean recognizing the group of individual differences that we see in our students. So diversity is everything that makes people different from each other. So this includes many factors such as their race, their ethnicity, their gender, their sexual orientation, the socio-economic status, the ability, age, religion, beliefs, and a political conviction. So also mean the diversity is also mean looking at each student unique profile. So so sinasabi na ang diverse learning and teaching materials is one of the way to bring diversity into the classroom. So this exposes the children with material to represent in multiple viewpoints and perspective. Your material should be include their races, their language, and their current affair. So these are the factors: the family pattern, the race, gender, the age, the physical attribute. And now, the most important challenge of the special education teacher in a diverse educational setting is to deal with prejudice and their discrimination. So, in school system, there is a prejudice that individual with mental disabilities, so that are not capable or hindi kasing talino ng iba pang mga mag-aaral at kailangan na ibuklod sa normal na silid-aralan. So, in order to receive a special education services, and some of them will experience the discrimination wherein hindi naman talaga natin ito maiiwasan. So, ito yung mga challenges um, na nararamdaman or mostly yung mga hinaharap or nafe-face ng mga guro. So why is it important for every teacher to understand the learner diversity? So it is important for educator and education planner at all levels to understand student diverse cognitive abilities and challenges. So teachers need to encourage the growth of high ability learners. It is also to consider the learning impact of mainstreaming the group based on abilities and the implication that theories of learning have the assessment. So, as your student enter the classroom, no, they will bring with them the unique unique set of skill and educational needs. So, walang dalawang mag-aaral ang natututo ng pareho dahil sa katangian nito. So, diversity in classroom does not just refer to the cultural diversity, but also refer to their diversity in skills, in their knowledge and needs. So, Mahalaga na maunawaan natin bilang mga guro ang mga katangian nila upang mas maging effective or maging mas epektibo ang ating pagtuturo sa mga mag-aaral. So here's the source of learning diversity. No? So the learner diversity in a typical classroom can be attributed to cultural um, gender, no, such as sa culture is andyan yung attitude and values, child-adult interaction. So, nagkakaroon na ng interaction. So, sa gender naman is andyan yung role identity. So, language, yung mga dialect na ginagamit. And yung mga learning style. Kapag sila ba ay visual, audio, kinesthetic, at tactile. When we say visual, mas natututo sila when there's a lot of mga visual aids, instructional materials, and etc. When we say audio, mas natututo sila kapag naririnig nila yung mga lectures or yung mga lesson. Kinesthetic is karamihan sa mga may disability na person or disabled person is mas natututo sila when it comes, mas natututo sila yung learning style nila is kinesthetic. Mas natututo sila sa mga kung may ginagawa sila habang yung may ginagawa sila mga bagay na kung saan is konektado sa lesson na iyon. The socio-economic status, yung mga basic needs nila, yung experience, the parent involvement, the attitude, and the values. So, diversity in the educational setting. So, their individual differences can be explained in terms of how the child react to when there is sensation, process information, plans of action, sequence behavior, and thoughts. So, the level of functional, emotional, social, and intellectual, the typically necessary interaction pattern, and also the family pattern. So, here's are the physical attributes, no? Kapag tall ba ang isang mag-aaral, short, average height, no? And so on. Ngayon ay dadako naman tayo sa presenter number 2, wherein their topic is all about the key concept of classroom management. So the basic concept of classroom management. So the concept of classroom management has changed through the years in the 90th century, 90th to 20th century. Classroom management focus on the mastery of 3 R's. So obedience, compliance. Rules were imposed by teachers and students were strictly monitored never to break a rule. Interaction was basically teacher directed and student passive. So the classroom management um, is the procedure and process that you create and implement with your classroom to create a appropriate behavior and diverse undesirable behavior. So, ang isang epektibong diskarte sa pamamahala ng classroom is yung magpapataas ng mga akademikong pakikipag-ugnayan. And dahil ang mga mag-aral ay nakatuon sa mga gawain. So, it can also refer to the way we arrange our class, such as lesson or quizzes. The key concept of classroom management and organization. There are 6 components. These are the physical component, the psychosocial component, the behavior component, instructional component, and the procedural component, and also the organizational component. So the physical component, these are the setting up our classroom space, no? Kinakailangan is pag-arrange, like for example, ng mga chair, is there is a space between their side. The psychosocial component is determine the classroom climate and atmosphere of the class. Behavioral component kinakailangan is madisiplina natin sila and i-observe their attitude. The instructional component, the amount of quality of instruction has taken the center stage, the education of the children with special needs. So, when it comes to instructional materials is, kinakailangan is i-consider natin yung mga um, may disability, like for example, hearing impairment, ganun, or yung visual na malabo, kailangan natin i-consider yung mga yan. So, the procedural component is the choice and order. And the last one is the organizational component, the working environment, and the relationship. So, the characteristic of classroom setting, the multidimensionality, the the immediacy, the unpredictability, and the publicness, and also the history. So now let's proceed to the group number 3, which is the group of Miss Delio, about the developing a personal philosophy of classroom management. So, the importance of philosophy in classroom management is the primary goal of any philosophy or plan of classroom management is to assist the teacher in creating an environment for all students that will allow them to be successful and ultimately reach their potential. So, the philosophy of education focuses heavily on understanding kung ano ang mararamdaman ng isang mag-aaral kapag sila ay tinuturuan. So, sa pamamagitan ng paglalagay ng ating sarili sa posisyon ng ating mga mag-aaral, no? So, dito is magtutuklasan natin ang mga benepisyong multisensory learning, learning tools, the artifacts ng pagtuturo at mga engagement. So, the philosophical perspective in classroom management is classroom management philosophy encompasses the principle, their approaches and belief that inform our classroom management models. This includes the routines, um, rules, and standard we use to regulate disruptive behavior and create a productive learning environment. So when we are constructing our classroom management philosophy, no, think about your classroom management style. So do you like to maintain more control, or are you happy to give your student with more freedom? So think about your goals for this year. What kind of relationship that you want to establish or that you want to have with your student? So the personal philosophy in classroom management. Classroom management refers to the wide variety of skills and techniques that teacher use to keep students organized, orderly, focused, attentive on task, and academically productive during a class. So, personal philosophy in classroom, like for example, you always honor them. Like for example, good job. You're saying like that's your student. So that is the personal philosophy in classroom management. And now let's go to the group of Miss Pahel Moriano, which is the group number 4. So what is instructional environment? So the instructional environment refers to the instructional, behavioral, and personal aspect of the classroom experience. So every child is entitled to a free and appropriate public education in the least of restrictive environment, including children with cerebral palsy, children with disability may require aids and services to reach their highest potential. So today, parents are argued to research and meet with educators in the public and private sector to decide the most appropriate educational path to meet their child needs. So a positive academic environment, is characterized by high quality interaction, peers and staff who supported achievement-oriented behavior and serve as positive role model, high academic expectation, and institution academic support for students. So what is the goal of special educational setting? So the goal of special education is to give children with need access to mainstream learning as well as a life skill that will assist them in develop a sense of accomplishment as well as self-sufficiency. These two help the exceptional children to learn and acquire necessary skills for their self-help, independent living, and living in the future life as properly as possible. So how important it is um, having this spatial educational setting at in school. So it helps every student with disability to have the chance or to have the privilege to showcase their own talent and intelligence. So without this student, special education would not be an organization or an community who are willing to help this student with disability to learn and to attain their needs. So ibig sabihin po, yung mga student na may mga disability, because of this special education in school is binibigyan sila ng chance or binibigyan sila ng privilege to learn and to discover their talent and to discover their intelligence. So, kung wala ang mga student with disability, so, syempre, wala ding ang organization wherein the special education school that to help also the student with disabilities. So, what is classroom management? A classroom management refers to the wide variety of skill techniques, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, no? The teacher used to student to organize, orderly, focus, attentive on task, and academically productive during the class. So why is classroom management and organization is important? So research indicate that classroom management system are effective in managing the student behavior and learning because they sustain an all orderly learning environment for student, enhance student academic skills, competencies, and further social and emotional development. So the classroom management and organization are important because when the classroom management is effective sa pagtuturo, no, then the organization was um, also how to enhance student academic skills. So what is management in classroom? A classroom management can be defined as the action teachers take to establish and sustain an achievement as well as their emotional, moral growth. In other words, the goal of classroom management is not order to for order's sake, but order for the sake of learning. So the classroom management or the management in classroom is its goal is to maintain the learning skills of a child. There are four style classroom management. These are the authoritarian. So the authoritarian management style is described as a teacher having control over the classroom. So students are not given the flexibility to be actively involved and responsive. So dito walang active learning na nagaganap. It is likely that the student was not adhered to the rules set and forth with their students. So this style is not flexible. It is very structured that can be considered um, overly structured. The authoritative classroom management style is a balance of teacher control and student involvement. In this type classroom, students are encouraged to participate and collaborate, but structure exists but does not overtake student autonomy. So sa authoritative authoritative na um, style of classroom management is that may collaborative na nangyayari between the teachers and the student. So the permissive is the classroom management is that has a low level of control, wherein yung yung style ng teacher is walang engagement na nangyayari between the students. So dito siguro pinapakita ng teacher na wala siyang passion sa pag pag-educate ng ibang tao. The indulgent is the classroom management style is described as a high level of involvement but a low level of control. So dito, yung guro is nagbibigay ng freedom to express themselves. Binibigyan niya ng freedom ang kanyang mga estudyante to express their self, no, but due to lack of control, no, the class is taken over by the student lesson to get off the task. So yung objective ng lesson na iyon is hindi niya na-achieve kasi nga walang control when the child or when the student express their self, no, wala nang involvement. Sometimes is wala nang involvement sa lesson. So what is the meaning of classroom space? The classroom designated space means learning space or room in which care is provided or classes are held where learning can take place uninterrupted by outside distraction. The physical environment refers to the overall design and layout of a given classroom and its learning centers. So why is physical environment classroom is important? So it is important, so according to Catron and Allen, 2007, what a well-arranged environment should enhance children's development through learning and play. So it facilitates classroom management and support the implementation of curricular goals and objectives. Now let's move on to group number 5. So the nature and function of support instructional material. So support instructional material is important backup in information process. They offer an opportunity to experience and provide a concrete basis for conceptual thinking. They also contribute the efficiency, depth, and variety of learning in general. They serve a reinforcement in the learning process. So in instructional support materials, it include the audio, the visual, and kinesthetic. So material used to promote learning. And instructional support materials can carry the three modalities simultaneously, like the television program or of telescuela. So sometimes students learn more when kapag may nakikita silang mga like for example videos, no, so where student can watch a movie that are regarding sa lesson na inyong dinidiscuss. So there are several type of supporting instructional material. The two-dimensional material, these are the flat and usually is ginagamit siya or yung materials na ginagamit is cardboard or yung mga hard na object na paggawa ng mga placards or paglagay ng mga pictures, mga poster, diagram, and many more. So the concrete object fall under the three-dimensional materials. These include the terrestrial globes, models, relies, sand table, and diagram. Some support instructional materials require the use of hardware. The common hardware are the overhead projector, the video, the tape records, the cassette types, slide, and computers such as PowerPoint. So, instructional materials is in relation to modalities learning, no? Kailangan i-consider natin yung mga sa paggawa ng instructional materials is we must consider those students we have hearing impairment, sa taste, touch, smell, and sight, and so on. So the selection and management of materials, no, in choosing the material, we should be guided by their function. These as such as the meaningfulness, feasibility, sensitivity, to cultural issues, the mechanical qualities, no. So the meaningfulness is the materials determined by the age and spatial needs. Dito, a material will have a meaningful and relevance to the child if it is appropriate, interesting. Kung using age appropriate, when you say age appropriate, kapag yung instructional materials natin is appropriate siya, kapag bata ang tinuturuan natin is approachable, wherein yung instructional materials natin is may mga like picture, mga flower, mga cartoons, ganyan. Kasi bata ang tinuturuan. So, magiging catchy ito sa mga paningin nila. So, user-friendly, hindi nakakatakot yung mga nilagay mong design. So, student with disability will respond better, no? Student with disability will respond better kapag may mga there's a lot of picture and minimal lang yung mga details. And the feasibility is the list of support instructional material. So, let's consider yung mga question kung usable ba siya and time limitation ba, no? Do you have the ability to use it properly? So, magagamit mo ba to ng maayos, no? Yung materials is yung cost na or yung magagastos mo is sakto lang ba sa budget mo? And of course your ability or your skill to use the material properly, kasi kung sayang yung effort mo kung hindi mo lang naman din maggamit ng maayos. The sensitivity to cultural issues, instructional material should be a representation of wide range of cultural group, observe sensitivity to cultural issues. Like for example, may mga student ka na Muslim, so kailangan kung 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 sa lesson mo is may mga example, kailangan i-observe mo yung mga cultural issues nila, like for example yung baboy, ganyan, etc. So the mechanical qualities, the material should consider the color, texture, and quality of material. So the choice of color must be specific, since every type of disability has its own unique need. So minsan kasi may mga student na colorblind or nasisilaw sila sa mga bright na color. So kailangan iwasan natin. Kailangan consider din natin sila. So material should be filled, organized by categorized and by topic to make the most of your effort in the selection of construction of this. Some practical tips that can help you in the organization of your material. Number 1 is to provide a place for a safe place or storage place for all materials. So, kailangan yung mga materials mo, yung mga instructional materials mo ay nasa isang lalagyanan. Para kung hanapin mo, nasa isang lugar. Then, kailangan yung place na iyon is malapit sa table mo or near the front sa blackboard para hindi siya magkakos ng too much time sa pagkuha. And student material should place in place where the child will find them easily accessible and available. So, lang. A regular inspection of material for purposes of maintenance is highly recommended. So, that's all. So, their topic is the using instructional time effectively. So, lesson 1 is using class time effectively. So, this is something many modern classroom educators struggle with. Some of the teachers did not met kung ano yung time na ibinigay sa kanila towards that lesson. So, sometimes is sometimes hindi naging madali ang pagturo, siguro kung bakit ganoon ang nangyari. So once they have to adapt to our model, however, educators report that they are using pastime more effectively than ever before. So here are the ways to do it. Number 1, plan ahead. One of the best thing about using the progress tracker is that it tells you exactly what each student needs to do. So, kailangan, bago ka pa man pumasok sa classroom nila, alam mo na kung ano ang kanilang gagawin. Number 2 is go with the flow. If you aren't delivering direct instruction from the front of the room each day, you have a lot more freedom in terms of how you use your time. Number 3 is emphasize connection. Students can now learn content on their own time. So, like for example, videos. Establishing an agenda, a focus lesson plan, or each meeting should enable you to keep your class on target. So, begin each class precisely on time. Huwag kang malilate. Adhere to your agenda. So, kung ano ang agenda mo, proceed to that. Schedule breaks. So, in class, lasting longer than 90 minutes, schedule brief break midway through the session. For classes of 3 or more hours, schedule 2 brief break of 10 or less than minute para hindi sila maboard. Number 2 is planning and scheduling classroom activities. So, common planning time is regularly scheduled time during the school day, and teacher who teach the same student meet for joint planning, parent conference, material preparation. So, here's are the 7 project planning activity. Define the critical factor for success. Focus on subtasks. Create the best and worst case scenario. Ask task owner to provide and process outline and specs. Hold brainstorming session, get visual and the use of management software. Maintain the learner involvement. So here are the 5 tips for getting all students engaged in learning. Connect what you're teaching to real life. Use student interest and fascination. Give student choices. Hook their interest with the fun transition. Teach student and self-monitoring skills. Now let's move on to group number 7. Rational and ethical perspective of behavior management. In particular, the behavioral aspect of relationship management involve relational behavior, which are defined as desired action involved in exchange that promote the development of a collaborative relationship. So first, it get worse. So whenever you start a new behavior plan, the behavior tends to worsen. The child may not like the new contingencies or the new antecedent. So frequency, duration, intensity, or rate of the behavior might increase. So families should prepare themselves for the behavior getting worse and should stick with the plan for as long as they can. So pick your battles. Sometimes children with one challenging behavior have other challenging behavior. Families and teachers are tempted to deal with many problems at one time. Prevention is better than attempting cure. So part of the prevention is sometimes anticipation. So if you see the child starting to lose it, redirect the child. Other principles have to do with the teaching, self-control. Here we're working on preventing the bad times. Be consistent but recognize. Isn't it consistent children will learn more easily when the same content or in the same rules? Apply every time a situation arises. Then structure can help. So much structure can lead to conflict. Though adults need to find a right balance between the predictability and opportunity for children to do what interests them. Ignore what do you want to, to the desired behavior. The number 7 is attend. These are together because they are two sides of the same coin. The number 8 is following when the children are engaged in appropriate behavior. Negative attention can be reinforcing. Spend quality, non-conflictual time with your children and have a realistic expectation, discipline in teaching, how to increase the inappropriate behavior. So make students be structured and predictable and limit excessive free time. Behavior management techniques. Here are the 6 safe and effective behavior management strategies for remaining calm and professional during challenging situations. So be mindful of your own reaction, maintain the rational detachment, be attentive, use positive self-talk, debrief, behavior reduction concept in ABA is to refer the principle and strategies that are utilized to decrease the occurrence of maladaptive behavior in the identified client. So here are the strategies to making your classroom calmer pace. Number 1 is change the setting, respond calmly, teach the alternate behavior, give your student choice, notice the positive and offer student encouragement, practice the consistency in your classroom, and that's all. Now let's move on to the last group, which is the group number 8. Understand the behavioral adjustment of the problem, the typical classroom problem behavior, the responding to problem behavior, and the disruptive behavior disorder. So the understanding and management of classroom challenge behavior. In a classroom environment, one of the biggest obstacles you may face is dealing with children with challenging behavior. So, understanding management of classroom challenge behavior. Here are the 10 strategies for dealing with a challenging behavior in your classroom. Number 1 is turn negative into positive. So, the best example is we react much better to a statement. Like, for example, Thomas, please talk quietly. Then, stop shouting, Thomas. So, the negative there is, during the class, someone is shouting. But instead of shout him back, you should talk them quiet and nicely. Then, number 2 is teach positive behavior. So rather than trying to completely remove the unwanted behavior, you should focus instead of facilitating the behavior you want. So, always tell them what the right thing to do instead of scold them. The number 3 is model the behavior you expect. If you wanted your student to have a positive behavior, then start it with yourself. Be a positive role model to your student. The number 4 is establish a class code of conduct. So discuss the different type of behavior that you think that are acceptable and unacceptable and how you want the student to act toward each other. The number 5 is communicate well. So in having a well communication, nagkakaroon din ng maayos na behavior.